Hello and welcome to the Capital Area Food Bank Recipe Library. Today we will be making vegetarian chili your way. So this is a great recipe because you can use whatever is in your fridge. There's only a few main ingredients that we suggest you use. Other than that, you can use whatever spices and vegetables that you happen to have in your fridge. So let's go over the ingredients that we recommend. So we recommend that you have an onion diced up, and we'll dice that up soon. We recommend you have some garlic. I used fresh garlic. You can use chopped garlic, minced garlic in a jar. You can also use powdered garlic if you'd like to as well. We recommend diced tomatoes with the juice as well. These ones are canned in tomato juice, which means there's not any added sodium, which is great. And you can look for that on the label as well. And then we have beans. So whatever type of beans you happen to have at home. Here today, I'm using navy beans and kidney beans. Those were the beans I had in my kitchen today. So that's what we'll be using. And that's why this recipe is so great. I also will be using a carrot. We'll cut this up together. I'll be using some red pepper. We'll cut this up, and I've done the rest. And we'll also be using 4 cups of water. So you can either use water or you can use no sodium, low sodium or no salt added broth. And to make sure that this tastes just as delicious without broth, I'm going to be using some great seasoning today, so you won't even notice that there's no broth in it. And just the last ingredients is seasoning. So today I'm using ground cumin, a little bit of cayenne for a kick, and some chili powder as well. But you feel free to put in whatever spices you think would taste best, whatever herbs you think would go well in this chili. So first I'm going to turn on my burner. And I'm gonna start with adding my oil in, not too much, just to put a layer at the bottom, not even the whole layer, but just to make sure that when I'm cooking my onions and garlic, that they're being cooked in something. So let's remember how to cut an onion. This is half of one. As you see, I peeled it, I sliced it in half, and I sliced the top off. So when we're cutting an onion, we'll grab onto the end here that has not been sliced off, and we will cut through to the bottom, but not towards the end. So everything stays attached, and it should be attached at the nub at the end that we did not cut off. And you can see here, let me show you. I cut it like this, so everything's still attached at the bottom. And then we'll also cut across. So now we're cutting the other direction, and we're getting these beautifully diced onion slices. And making sure you're using that claw so that you watch your fingers. And then when it gets too far, there we go. And that's going in my compost pile. Once we have the onion cut up, I'm going to put it with my other onion. And I'm going to put that right in. Ooh, you can hear that sizzle? Yum, that sounds delicious already. And make sure our heat should be on medium right now, just to get everything to start cooking. And now for our garlic. So if you're using fresh garlic, you'll take 1 clove out, 2, 3, however garlicky you like it. I usually do 2 to 3 garlic cloves depending on the size. These are pretty hefty. So in order to get the peel off, the best way is to just use your hand and press down. You'll hear a crack, and then it'll be a lot easier to peel off that outside skin. And since we're chopping it anyway, it's okay if it's squished a little bit. I'm putting all this in my compost pile. You're gonna cut off the little edge over here. And then we're going to make sure that your fingers are in a claw, because this is very close. We are going to chop it in one direction switch it and chop it in another. And that's the thing about garlic. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to chop it beautifully because by the time it's cooked, no one will even see it. Great. And let me add that to my other garlic here. And we'll put that garlic right in the pot. Perfect. So we're going to put that garlic in. I'm going to lower this a little bit because I see that my onion is starting to burn already. Glad I lowered it. It needs to be lowered just a little bit. And while those are cooking, I'm going to put in a pinch of salt. I am not using veggie broth or chicken broth or any sort of broth, so I am going to add a little more salt. If you're using broth, you might not even need to put salt in because of how much salt and sodium is in the broth. So start with none and see how it tastes and decide from there if you feel like you need to add some broth to it. A little bit of seasoning. I'm going to add a sprinkle of cayenne because that's the spicy one, depending on who's eating it and how spicy you like. Add some cumin. I love cumin, yum. And add some chili powder as well. And that's the best thing about this recipe. There's no measurement, so you can just put it in and always start with less because you really don't want to overwhelm it too much. Put in as much spice as you think is best now, and then you can add more later too. And when it's done and we're tasting it, if it feels like it needs to have a little more seasoning, that is a great time to add it. So while that's cooking, we're gonna chop up our pepper. So you'll see this looks like the side of a pepper, and what I did was I just cut off each side to make it the easiest to cut, and then the center just falls out. And so once we've cut that side, we're gonna cut it into long strips, making sure our knuckles are out and our fingers are under, making sure we're making that claw. And then we are going to go this direction. Making sure you have a sharp knife is huge when cooking, especially when cutting things like peppers and onions and those ingredients that can be a little tougher sometimes. It's important to have a very sharp knife, and this one could be a little sharper. I wish you could smell what's going on in here. Okay, the onions are cooking, the garlic is cooking. The seasoning is making it smell delicious. And while you're chopping, definitely keep it on low so that nothing burns while we're preparing the other vegetables. And with a carrot, these can be very hard to chop sometimes. My favorite way to do it, again, we are going to be dicing it, so it doesn't need to be that pretty. It's going to be put into a chili. I'm going to cut a long one like this in half, and then cut this part in half too. And so what I usually do is I get the tip of the knife in and stabilize it, but then I move my hand because we have to be very careful and just press down on the top until it's cut in half. And so I'm going to do that the same. I'm going to just get the tip in with my hands and then move my fingers so that I'm making sure I'm being safe. And you're going to flip these onto the flat surface because we always want to be on flat surfaces when we can, especially when cutting fruits and vegetables. And we're going to cut it again. Let me move the tomatoes so you can see. I'm so sorry. And then we're going to cut it again. So we have, uh-oh, that didn't even cut. So we've cut them into fourths. So everyone kind of looks like this, like a traditional carrot stick. And once we've done that, then we'll slice it into bite-sized pieces. You can do one at a time. You can do them all together. Okay, I'll put that with my carrots. Okay, my onions are, I can break through them, I can poke through them, and so I know that they are ready for me to add everything else. So great part of this whole meal is that you can just throw everything in and let it sit. So we're gonna put our peppers in. Those usually take a long time to cook. You hear that sizzle? Yum. We are going to throw our carrots in. We're gonna saute these for about 2 minutes. So we wanna make sure that these are getting most of the heat for them to soften, because both carrots and peppers are very hardy vegetables. So as you see, they're a little harder to cut, which means they're gonna take longer to cook. If you're cooking with something like mushrooms or spinach, those usually take less time to cook, because think of how thin they are can be compared to carrots and peppers. It's been 2 minutes. And so what we're gonna do next is they look like they've gotten a little bit of heat in them. You can tell they're a little bit softer. They don't have to be fully soft yet. That is fine. They're gonna be cooking in the tomatoes, in the juices. So it is fine if they are not done yet. I'm gonna add in my 1 can of diced tomatoes. I'm gonna add in my beans. And I'm gonna add in my water or broth. Once you add the water, you can tell it's definitely stopped sizzling because we added so much liquid and the heat was so low. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let this cook a little bit longer. I'm gonna turn it up to a higher temperature to let the bubbles start to come. And once the bubbles come, I'm gonna lower it, put a lid on it, and have it rest for a few minutes until the rest of the items are cooked. Okay, so it's starting to boil, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the heat and put a lid on it and wait about 10-15 minutes, and I'll come back and check to see how my peppers and how my carrots are doing. And we'll also test for flavor then and see how delicious it seems. Okay, we'll be back in a few. It's been about 10 to 15 minutes and I've already checked in on it. And look at that steam. It is really cooking down. And I've tested both this, I've poked both the pepper and the carrot and made sure that my fork could go all the way through it. And that is how you know that the vegetables will be ready to be eaten. So I am ready to serve because I want you guys to see how beautiful this is. Oh, look at that. Can you see how gorgeous those colors? Very red and orange. I did like a color theme. And to top it, you can put anything on it. So you could put cheese, you could put sour cream, any herbs. Today I'm gonna do some cilantro. So I have a whole bunch of cilantro here. I'm going to take off a leaf or two. And the fun thing about cilantro is you can eat the stems. So the stems still have flavor in them. So I am going to wrap it around like this. I'm going to just cut it up. Let me move my bowl. Wrap it around like this. I'm going to cut it up. And there we go. We have cilantro to garnish on top and to help enhance the flavors. And look at that again. Can you see it? Oh my goodness. It looks delicious. I am ready to eat this. I hope you were so excited about this recipe that you want to make it at home. So please go to the link below and check out our Capital Area Food Bank video library to look for this recipe and any other recipes that you find interesting on our website. So click on the link below to be able to make delicious recipes like this, along with a handful of other recipes we have on our website. Have a good day and thanks for watching.